Welcome back, witches. I'm Steph, and I'm chatting today about some of my summer favorites. We went over spring a couple of months ago, so it only makes sense to add summer to the list. So first up, I'm going to go over the urban crystal because I did those in spring favorites, so I'd like to do them again because things change as, how I use them and what's useful for the season. So let's start with the herb, and that is Comfrey. And Comfrey I have been using quite a bit just because it is good for money and then also safe travels. So a lot of uses packed into one little herb, and safe travels can mean a lot of things. I know people just associate it with going on vacations and a longer trip, but traveling really is just commuting anywhere. And I find myself going out more during the summer months. It's nicer out, less options of things to do in Chicago in January. But now I am heading out, going to, street fest with my friends. One of my favorite things to do. We go see bands and things. And this is a great little herb to make sure that I am safe while I am commuting there, while I am there walking around, just in general. I love using it for that. And I also love the money properties, because obviously all of these things that I am attending cost money. So it is nice to use that towards that, to getting a little bit of a windfall, to using my money wisely, to not spending $17 on a martini. All of those things are great for this one little herb. So the favorite crystal lately is Jade. And I have a really light piece of it here, but you can still see that it's got that greenish tint. And Jade is great for, calming, happiness, and it's a stone to connect to nature. So I particularly love that this time of year. I don't love summer. I mentioned that before. I love getting to do all the things and going out of the house and going to see bands, all the fun stuff. That is not an option in the winter, but weather-wise, summer is just too hot for me and I don't love it. So this helps me connect to nature, because otherwise I connect way more to snow and falling leaves and just fall and winter in general, and that sort of weather. So as much as I use herbs and work with plants and tree spirits and things in my witchcraft, it's a struggle for me during the summer months. So I love using this stone to sort of help bridge the gap and just remind me of nature and just be that little piece that sort of connects me more. And like I said, just calming, happiness, harmony. I love a good stone of harmony. So speaking of crystal, something I've been using that is a piece of crystal but a little bit different is the sucker here. So if you have seen one of these, you know what it is, and it is the technique known as guasa. I'm gonna link the video if you have never heard of that or seen it. The video has 10 million views of how to do this, but it is a skincare, relaxation, everything technique. It helps your sinuses, all kinds of good things associated with guasa. And essentially it's using the edges and the grooves. The black obsidian is not the only one that it comes in. You can get rose quartz and amethyst and jade and all different options. But essentially you just follow the walkthrough, and there's different ways to apply it, like pressure, light pressure in upwards motion on your neck. You go up the sides of your face, up your forehead, and it's just improving circulation, improving your skin, just all sorts of healthy benefits that come from this. And for me, it is major stress relief. You go up your spine through this groove here, and it's just so relaxing, straightens my spine. I just feel great after I do this. Sometimes I don't have enough time and I have to speed through it a little bit or skip certain parts, but when I can do the full method as many times as I feel it is the most relaxing technique. I definitely think you can associate the crystal that you're using in your piece to whatever intentions that you are looking for. I love black and I love obsidian, so that's why I went with this one. Lots of options. They're inexpensive to pick up. I will link some options below for you so you can find what you like, but I highly recommend this. I wish I had started it earlier. So last time in spring favorites, I mentioned a book, and I will probably have a book favorite in all of my favorites. I love reading. I have a great option with the Chicago library system. There's so many witchcraft books. So I have another one for summer favorites, and that is Backwoods Witchcraft by Jade. So I have mentioned this one on the podcast before, you might have heard of it, but I didn't own it, so I picked it up again from the library because it had been a little while since I read it. I think it was 2019, so I just wanted to go over it again. And yes, definite favorite. So this is Appalachian-based folkloric witchcraft practice. So great American traditions in here. Because it is Appalachian-based, it is also Christian-based, which a lot of people are thrown off by when it comes to witchcraft in this book in particular, because there are, you know, Bible passages and the saints and things, and people find that odd that they would go together, but that is how witchcraft came about in that area, was because of Christian settlers coming into the area, but then mixing with African traditions, with Dutch traditions, all of the sort of melting pot of people who were there and practicing witchcraft, and then they sort of adopted the Christianity to work with their witchcraft practices. So there are, you know, Bible verses and things, which is not something that I particularly work with, but I love just like the history, the folklore that's written down. Folklore doesn't often get written down, so there are some practices that have been lost over the years because nobody wrote them down. It's an oral tradition that is passed, you know, from generation to generation. So not everybody thought to commit that to writing. So it's really great that somebody did, and it's very, you know, stories about his family and history that they practiced that he grew up with. So it's really interesting that somebody actually wrote that down. And I think it's a great look, and I think there are a lot of common themes that run through here that I've read in other folklore, especially Appalachian folklore traditions. So some of it is very much like his family and passing on their stories and history, but a lot of it is things that are common to the area that have been passed on that other people have spoken about. So lots of good information in this book. Don't be put off by any sort of Bible passages, Christians' writings. It's great to just learn about, but as with any other book and practice, you can just take what you like and leave the rest. So highly recommend this one again. One more thing that I have here to show you as a favorite, and then we're gonna get into some favorites that I don't have on hand, but that is my perfume that I like to wear in the summertime, and this is called Road Trip. It's the Nostalgia perfume, and you get it from Anthropology. I think it is like their own line, and they have these various names like Road Trip and First Dance and I Do, and these cute like little nostalgic names. This smells so good. I love scent witchery. I love to, you know, enchant this with something in the morning, and then as I spray that on and wear that during the day, catching that whiff of that scent just reminds me of what my intention was. So it's a great little bit of glamour magic. And I particularly love this scent. It's described as violet tea and jasmine and crisp apple. I'm not really good at figuring out perfumes and if that's, you know, accurate or not, but I know that it smells good, it smells fresh, it smells very summery and happy. So I enjoy everything about it. So I think this is still available, and I will link it if you are also interested, because it's not very expensive. Another favorite that I do not have on hand here to show you, but that is sun tea. So if you have never made sun tea, it's kind of exactly what it sounds like, that you put the tea bags into water in a pitcher and you leave it sitting outside in the sun, and that is how the tea steeps. So it's usually, you know, a pitcher of water and 4 to 8 tea bags, depending on how strong you like your tea, and you leave that in the sun for 3 to 4 hours. So the sun is hitting on it. So if you have to move it to make it stay in the sun, you need to do that. But that lasts for like a day or two in the fridge, but it'll go quicker than that. And it's a much more mellow tea flavor than when you use boiling water. But it is so delicious. It's such a great way to get sunlight in, to work with sun magic, then to, you know, have that tea to consume. I just love everything about sun tea. So it makes a great iced tea. Highly recommend. It really is that simple, but if I find someplace that has like a recipe online for making sun tea, I will link that for you below. But if you have not tried it, I highly recommend. And if you like prefer like a milder tea flavor, you're really gonna like this. On the opposite end from sun tea and sun energy, I want to recommend, whichever I already showed in June when I did my witch tech that was on my phone, is the Night Sky app. I particularly love doing this during the summer. I think that's like when I can spend more time outside, so we just sit on our back deck and I can point my phone up and use the Night Sky app to see everything that's in the sky, because I can't see stars really in Chicago, just a few really bright ones. So I love to see where the planets are, where the stars are, what constellations I'm looking at or could be looking at if there weren't so much, you know, lights going on. But I love that. It's like one of my favorite things. That's one of my very, very witchy activities that I like to do. It's like stars and witchcraft are just melded together for me. So I have always loved stars, and this is just a great app. I'm so glad somebody like finally made it. Probably would have made my Astronomy 101 course my freshman year of college a lot easier if I had it back then. Oh well, at least I have it now, so that is a lot of fun. It's a free app, highly recommend that. Another thing that I have been loving are pagan music playlists on Spotify. So I'm gonna link two below that I have been listening to like crazy. I just really love them. I have, you know, playlists that I've made myself, but these are just so comprehensive and so many options. So one is called Pagan Metal, and the other is Music for Witches and Pagans, and they are both fabulous. I will link both below, so if you have Spotify, you know, check those out. But they are great for in general. Music tends to set the mood for a lot of witches, so great to use to get ready for ritual, during ritual, or just, you know, to go about your day. Having some pagan music on playing just helps, personally me, get into sort of a witchy spirit, remind me to, you know, settle down, enjoy the moment. I just love using music in that way. So I will link both of those below. And my last favorite, of course, for the summer, if you follow me on Instagram at Witch Wednesdays Podcast, all one word, then you will have already seen our hand fasting cord. So as you know, we decided to finally sign our papers in June to get married, even though we've been together for over 10 years. We decided we finally used some paperwork for that. So we had just a quick little ceremony, just a couple of us, and then me and my husband. So I think only 6 people there total, which is perfect, exactly how I wanted it. And it was very secular ceremony, just like basically what you would do if you went to the courthouse. Completely civil ceremony, because I didn't want any religious aspects. I didn't want a big like pagan ceremony either. So the only really pagan thing that we did was have the hand fasting cord, which is where the term tying the knot comes from. And I just really like the cord. And we didn't do, you know, any of the parts of it that go along with the pagan ceremony, like saying the specific wording, calling in the quarters, anything like that. We literally just wrapped our hands how we saw fit. Like it wasn't even wrapped, it was just like laid over our hands while we exchanged rings. The celebrant didn't even say anything about it. It was just there. But since we didn't do sort of the traditional having favors or invitations or veil or all that stuff, I knew there wasn't going to be too many keepsakes from the day. And especially because, I mean, despite being on YouTube here and on Instagram, I actually hate having my picture taken. It's just one of those things I always have, even since I was little, hate having my picture taken. Story for another time. My husband doesn't love it either, so there's like not that many pictures of us around the house. We did not want to hire a photographer, because that is my least favorite thing, is professional photographers who are like, oh, turn your head this way, put your hand here, smile like this. Like, absolute worst nightmare is doing those things. And I've been a bridesmaid 17 times, so I'm well versed in how awful that is. So we did not want to have a photographer. We knew we were just going to have his brother, who was there, just take some pictures on his iPhone and be done with it. So I knew that there were not going to be a lot of keepsakes to have around and display from that day. So that was really why I made the hand fasting cord, was in order to, you know, have something that we could then keep in the house, display, have around. So that was definitely my favorite. They're relatively easy to make because it's just a 3-strand braid. So I picked up some supplies from the craft store, from Michael's, in colors that I liked. Just braid those together, charms at the end. It's relatively simple to make. So I'm really glad that we did that, and I have it. So I think it turned out super pretty, but let me know what you think. So those are all of my summer favorites. Let me know if you agree with any of them. What have you been loving lately? Let me know in the comments, because of course I'm always looking for new ideas and new things to check out, and maybe it'll end up on my fall favorites. So that is everything that I have for you. If you like this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. I would love to have you here as part of the community, and I will see you next Friday.